So, honesty, authenticity, vulnerability. I do believe that our capacity to get authentic and vulnerable is the key to some treasure chest. Don't know what's inside it, but it's something that's going to change our lives. Right? Brené Brown isn't Brené Brown for nothing. To live a more authentic life is kind of freedom. Freedom from a prison of inauthenticity, I suppose. But for as much as we hear it and see it, we don't quite walk into that fire. Burn away the inauthenticity. Burn away your ego that doesn't want to get vulnerable. Because if your ego is still too strong, you won't go to the vulnerable places. How honest do you get in your conversations? For years, I didn't get honest enough in the conversations that I was having. And somehow I always felt like I wasn't being fully heard. Very funny. I wasn't being myself fully. I wasn't bringing my complete honesty. There's an energy that I brought that was definitely true. If you've met me, I think I'm fairly consistent. I can have my bad days. But by and large, I think I'm a... And maybe I'm not consistent. I feel as if I'm consistently all over the show. That's, I think, what I am. Consistently all over the show. I have connections where, if I'm honest, I don't know how much I've allowed people to see me, you know. And I know I've spoken about this before, but the more I move along on this healing journey, the more I realize how imperative getting vulnerable about your life, vulnerable and true, honest about your life is. Now, the path that I'm on, I would call it the spiritual path. And I assimilate from many places. I grew up Christian, and so I feel like Jesus is a very important aspect of my spiritual healing. I don't identify as a Christian person anymore, even though Jesus is definitely more meaningful to me than I think he ever was when I called myself a Christian. And for whatever that means, you know, and look, I mean, if that makes anybody feel uncomfortable, then I'm sorry. I mean, my earring, it's a little crucifix. It looks a little bit like an ankh, but it's actually a crucifix, and I've got a crucifix around my neck as well because of how much Jesus matters to me. Jesus the person, Christ the energy, God, universe, source, spirit. Who am I as a child of God? What does it mean to call yourself that? And we have, I believe, that we have downplayed the truth of what it really means to be a child of God. think the seeking for me has brought me to many beautiful realizations about love and God, as an example, about the fact that we are all one, and the more you witness the oneness, the more you experience God, the more you see yourself as one with it, the more love you are able to express through yourself, the more love you feel flowing into you. And it's not a theory. It's not a theory. It's not something I'm doing because somebody told me to do it. Because that's how I worshipped when I was a child growing up. The implication of not participating in what looked like worshipping God was punishable. And so I did it because I had to do it. And when my father died in 2002, soon after that, I just kind of went, well, now I don't have to do it anymore. And so I've been answerable to nobody around my relationship with God for many years. And if ever I got into conversations with people, I would oftentimes land in this place where I spoke about God, defending my lack of relationship, blaming it on something. A church. I was in a deep victim state around my lack of relationship. I was mad at God. Didn't feel loved by Him. I can get so mad if I don't feel loved. Mad at you. I'm mad at you. If I've ever been mad at you, it's most likely because I didn't feel loved by you. I think that's why a lot of us are mad. Because we don't feel loved enough. I feel a lot less mad. At the end of 2021, I realized that God loved me. I knew. And literally, it changed my life. I've never been the same again, in the best possible way. And things got real, because when I realized my worthiness of love, it's like I stood in a different position of being able to ask it of others. I am allowed to feel loved. And in spaces where I am not loving enough, I'm trying to pour more love. And in places where I am not feeling loved enough, I am asking for more love. And I'm trying to be in my authenticity, and through that process being able to, and vulnerability, and to be able to say, oh, that moment there when you said that thing to me in that kind of tone of voice, I didn't feel so loved in that moment. And realizing that because of my worthiness to feel loved at all times, if you're able to meet me in that place and understand my position and bring enough awareness to be able to meet me in a place of showing me more love, it's a positive experience. Not having the courage to ask for more doesn't serve me and my healing and my heart and my connection to God. And the healing journey for me is also, it's a lot about taking responsibility, you know. So I can get vulnerable about all of how I feel. But when you get vulnerable about all of how you feel, you open yourself up to somebody else's authenticity. And can you handle the heat? Because, and it's like, we really should do more of this thing where we speak to each other in more vulnerability. Not to undermine, to catch out, or to just tell them just exactly how I'm feeling here. Not that. Because when you say it from that place of defensiveness, then it's almost like it's not an open channel for healing. There's constriction in that channel. If our intention is love and more loving relationships, and we come to our conversations from that place, even if it's not in agreement with the next person, to come with curiosity, can we be curious? Can we be more curious about why we are the way we are? Why we feel the way we feel? Why we don't say the things that we need to say? When something niggles us, why do we think there's strength in just how much can you resist that niggle? Not because you must be reactive, but like what is authenticity and vulnerability to you? And then to be honest about our feelings, we are always in the feelings. Our feelings are everything. Why do we have the feelings? Why do we have all of the feelings that we have? And we don't only have good feelings. We have feelings of expansion and feelings of constriction, and they both tell us something about the engagements and our relationships. It seems like a simple thing. Then why do we avoid it so? To get more vulnerable is to shed more light. Because when you get vulnerable, you say things that you yourself struggle. Just like, I don't want to say it. Why? Because I'm going to expose a part of myself that doesn't want to get hurt. Because why do we not say the things that are going to make us feel vulnerable? Even if you just acknowledge it to yourself. And then find the spaces in which you can start exploring your vulnerabilities. Create space. Create containers for. Now, talking to each other has become such a treacherous thing to do. So we have to pay people to listen to us talk. But the fact that we're willing to do it means that being heard is so important. Being heard in our truth. What are we afraid of? And why do we resist each other's truth? And when truth triggers you, when somebody's truth triggers you, like why? Why can't we be more curious about the next person's truth? Why can't we acknowledge another person's truth and then say, okay, so now I hear you, but now why do I feel like this after hearing you? Or, okay, I hear you, but I feel as if there's something here that you're not saying. I hear you saying this, but maybe there's something else that you're wanting to say that you're avoiding, and that's why you're saying this right now. Because sometimes we do that as well. I don't like so much speaking in analogies and metaphors, I like telling it as it is. I like those kinds of conversations where it's so refreshing. It's difficult. When you start doing it initially, it feels like you feel quite exposed. But if you play there, I believe it's where so much healing can take place for us. Find some way, if you can, to express something that makes you feel vulnerable. Even if it's just to say to somebody, I just want to say to you that I don't know how I would have gotten so far through my life without you in it. You are so pivotal in my growth. I mean, there's something that will take nothing away from you. And I think we're fearful because we don't trust one another to hold our stories with compassion, love, care. And can we do that? Can we create spaces that are non-judgmental and, filled with compassion and care and openness and love? We can expedite healing in the world by being, the oasis to come and replenish. But we can be it for others and for ourselves, and we can do it more actively. And we can start with those who are most meaningful to us, but to extend it beyond. Remember that God is love. It's not like love. God is love. It's not like God's, it belongs to Him. It is Him. It is it. And if God is everything and in everything, then love is everything and in everything. We only restrict love by not expressing it more freely. You can't run out of it. Listen to this read this little post from Erin Adkey, and he says, love is all there is. Love is everything there is. And it made so much sense. There is no love deficit because it is God. You don't have to wait until the conditions are perfect to express it, because you can't run out of it. The more you give it, the more you will receive it. There's surplus, an infinite surplus. You only hurt yourself by constricting what is when you don't give love. And to bring awareness enough to remember this. Where are we extending love, and where are we not extending love? And I think a lot of it is starting to love ourselves. A lot of the work is really with ourselves, and to start loving ourselves more authentically. I think positive affirmations, as much as, if you are somebody who's quite logical or pragmatic and going to go like, yeah, okay, so what is a positive affirmation going to do for me? It's amazing how these little things, much like the distraction of the system, it's very subliminal. You don't even realize it, and then you're caught up again in your life. The changes that we can bring are also they simple things, simple practices. Say positive things to yourself every day. Look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, I love you. You lovely thing. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You are special. You are sacred. You are the temple where God resides. Meditate. If you're not yet meditating, come to stillness. Stop imagining that your words to God is more meaningful than just sitting quietly in His presence. And your words to God matter. He wants to hear you articulate to Him. Pray. But then bring silence so you can hear Him speak to you. Come on. Bring silence enough to allow God now to speak to you. And what your meditation does for you is it will create more awareness in you. More moments where you take pause. And you will find that life starts to feel less chaotic. Life becomes more beautiful. And you know it because you feel it. Your feelings are everything. And how do you feel? You feel in relation to other things, in relation to yourself and to other things, to other people especially. If you walk around very irritated, bring awareness to it. If you walk around very angry, bring awareness to it. If you walk around very hurt, bring awareness to it. And for these emotions that you feel, bring awareness and bring gratitude. The state of gratitude is a beautiful state to exist within. It's such a positive feeling state that's asking very little of you outside of looking and bringing appreciation. And your awareness matters so much, to bring enough awareness so that when you stepped out of your state of peace, you can go, where am I now? Suddenly I'm back in that state of irritation. Thank you, irritation, for showing me that I'm not in alignment. I'm going to step back into my gratitude. I'm going to step back into love. Stay the course. Bring awareness. Express love. And check in with your intention. Is your intention pure? Is your intention still pure? Healing is possible. Open your heart. Stay curious. Love you.